because F1 had the chance to solve a problem. What problem's that? The problem that we don't have enough seats in Formula One. Think about the drivers that are missing out. We have Formula 2 drivers that cannot get into Formula 1 because there's no space. Like, we're all applauding how amazing it is that we still have Hamilton and we still have Alonso, that drivers have got careers lasting longer. Do you know what that means, though? It means we need more drivers because the talent's still coming through. Felipe Drugovich is not there. Antonelli is not there. Mick Schumacher's not there. Charles Leclerc's getting close. He's not there. Right? More, more and more drivers are going to go through this. And it seems crazy to me that we cannot get the seats for them. Even crazier when someone comes up and goes, I can give you 2 more seats, and they are turned down. Well, that escalated quickly, didn't it, guys? Wow. Okay. Right. What news did we just have? Yeah. It's reversed the decision. The team's potentially here. We are potentially getting 2 more seats. Wow. So, after all of the craziness and Andretti being turned down with the support of Cadillac, the team's now been accepted. It's now a little bit different. It's now Cadillac with the support of Andretti rather than Andretti with the support of Cadillac. But now the team's here. And by the way, there's one teensy little thing that I would have loved to have done to have changed it, which is the fact that I would have loved for the team to have been Dodge rather than Cadillac. I mean, they're under the same umbrella. Only reason for that is I remember a YouTube video, must have been 3-4 years ago now, that was done by Donut Media about Dodge going into Formula One. And I would have loved that, but it's Cadillac. That's fine. I can work with Cadillac. But yes, that team that I said it should go in. And by the way, I want to re-watching that video. I want to really stress Charles Leclerc is in Formula One. I was talking about Arthur Leclerc, so apologies there. Yes, Charles, you are doing okay. I'm sorry about that. On that, but the 2 extra seats are going to be here. So in 2026, Cadillac will be joining the Formula One grid. And I love this because it makes 2025 quite a weird season. Why? Why am I saying 2025 is going to be a weird season? Because these 2 seats are going to be open, right? And normally they will start signing drivers midway through 2025 or in the autumn of 2025. That's how the driver season and movers and shakers normally works. I know it was a little bit different this year with the Hamilton to Ferrari news, but that's all completely different. But I wanted to stress that I saw potentially 5 interesting stories that could appear in terms of who could take the seats at Cadillac for 2026. Now, one of them is weirdly hinted in this picture, so I'm not alone in thinking it. If you know the number and what it means, you will understand. But here are the ones that stood out to me. Let's start off with that number 3, and Daniel Ricciardo in the bottom right. It's going to be interesting, isn't it? Could he end up being the star of Cadillac? We know he loves his American racing, very much in there. I also wanted to touch on 2 of the other drivers that aren't in Formula One next year at the moment, who could end up being in the 2026 seats for Cadillac, in Franco Colapinto and Valtteri Bottas. I think all three of those could be really fascinating picks. In the same way that Nico Hulkenberg's doing for Audi next year. It just that sort of solid name, nothing too special, nothing too incredible, but a solid name that could be brought in. And I do think Valtteri Bottas, Colapinto, Daniel Ricciardo could be solid names. But the two I want to point out is the one on the bottom left and the top right. Carlos Sainz and Yuki Tsunoda. Now, why am I pointing out these guys? They've got a seat next year. Everything's all fine. Well, let's start off with the simple one. Carlos Sainz. Frankly, he has been ruined by the driver transfer window this year. Been in the situation where, because of Hamilton moving to Ferrari, he has lost a drive, and unfairly. And I think we can all by the way, I think we can all agree on this. Hamilton to Ferrari is a great move, and Carlos Sainz losing his seat is a sad move, but would have had to have been the right one because Charles Leclerc is brilliant at Ferrari, right? Both of those can be correct. Like I mentioned in the video when I was watching myself, we've got too many drivers and not enough seats, and drivers were going to lose out, right? That is how it is. But Carlos Sainz is a top driver, a driver for all occasions, right? Absolutely fantastic driver recently as well, really showing his stuff. And he's going to be at Williams next year. Now, interestingly enough, Williams was the one that I predicted that they'd start getting podiums, and for 2026. But ultimately, their success is going to be hinted at next year. They're ninth in the standings for this year. They need to progress on that to give indications that they are doing well. They basically, with this extra team of Cadillac, they need to convince Carlos Sainz next year that their 2026 car is going to be mega. Give over the impression that, I don't know, 5th, 6th, 7th best team, really showcase how good they are. Because otherwise, I think Cadillac could go in for Carlos and try and sell him their project instead. He's going to be a sought-after driver. But I think what's also fascinating, and by the way, this video could end up getting screwed over big time right now, right? Because ultimately, anything could happen. Like, I think 3 of these drivers in the picture potentially are being signed up by Red Bull as we speak, right? Okay. I think there's discussions about Colapinto getting a seat next year. There's discussions about Bottas getting a, people have said Bottas should be Red Bull number 2 driver, which, by the way, I was the first one that said that a few months ago. I called that, but, no one watched it. But Yuki Tsunoda is another one of those. And I've just realised I picked out his F2 picture, which is kind of embarrassing, rather than picking out his F1 picture. But what more has that guy got to do to get a seat at a top team? I really hope he does get the Red Bull seat. But if he doesn't, could he do a Daniel Ricciardo? Let's not forget, Daniel Ricciardo, when he realised that he was being dealt a really poor hand, he moved to Renault, which is why I picked the Renault picture. Could Yuki Tsunoda do the same? All of a sudden, we've just had another spicy story added to next season's Formula One Championship, right? This season has been exciting, don't get me wrong. It's been absolutely fun. And by the way, kudos to Max Verstappen. I think this has definitely been one of his best years in performing in a car when he's not necessarily had the best car. it reminds me a bit of Hamilton 2008, in that it wasn't necessarily the best car, but he made the best of that car. It almost, do you know what? No, Hamilton's underselling it. It's probably similar to Niki Lauda when he performed really well, despite the car not being at its absolute peak. Winning a world championship with a Ferrari that had the reliability of, well, it didn't have any. And where was I going with this? Oh yeah, that was this season. It was really exciting. We've had 7 different race winners this season. By the way, if you just told me that at the start of the season that we'd have 7 different race winners, the one person I would have expected to have been on those race winners was Sergio Perez, but maybe not. But next year could be even more fascinating. Now, we could end up going from a 4-car fight for the win to a 3-car fight for the win. I don't know. I feel like Red Bull aren't going to be good next year. I don't know. I get that feeling, but Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes, they look like they are now performing well. And Ferrari in the hands of Leclerc and Hamilton, Mercedes at the hands of Antonelli and Russell, and McLaren obviously Piastri and Lando Norris. Really fascinating. But the looming engine changes, the looming extra team, it's just added another bit of story, another bit of spice, because now that's where everyone's going to be looking. Now, of course, Cadillac could jump in straight away and start doing all sorts of things, but before the season even starts, they could be signing their drivers. This time tomorrow, could be looking into it. But for now, this is like an extra. Right, here's your little backup plan to go to Cadillac. Now, I'm hopeful. I'm really hopeful for this. I really get the feeling we are going to have a solid team. Probably similar to Haas, to be quite honest. And do you know what? It'd be really quite fun to see, again, an interpersonal rivalry between Haas and Andretti as well. But I wanted to show this as well because just a little bit of a side point, which sort of made me smile on this, was something that was said. Where was it? Just one sentence. Because obviously Michael Andretti and his team were refused to go to F1 2026, and then obviously spun it around. Now Andretti has been accepted. I wonder whether this sentence had some part to play in Cadillac being accepted. Ready? It says F1 is facing an investigation from the US Department of Justice into its decision to reject Andretti's initial entry. Did F1 get found out? All of a sudden, has the uproar, has everything all of a sudden gone, oh crap, we might need to be a bit might need to allow them just so that we don't get sued, because I feel like Andretti would have had a case here. But yeah, it's going to be really interesting, really fascinating. We've also got the fact that we're going to have 11 teams, 6 engine suppliers. That I find is amazing as well. 22 seats. And all of this at a time when F1 is evolving again. Now, look, I'm not I'm not going to be blind to the things that have happened before. Obviously, in 2009 we had 3 extra teams, and yeah, they didn't do too well in Virgin Racing, Lotus, and HRT. But I get a feeling this will be all right. I get the feeling this will be a decent opportunity because, look, this is the thing, right? Quite a lot of the times in sport, when Americans get involved in sport, whether that be owning soccer teams, whether that be race entries, whether it be getting into IndyCar and Formula One, they go hard. The last thing that General Motors will want to do is kill their reputation. They will have properly researched this. They will have properly investigated this. I get the feeling that this is going to be, at the very least, a mid-grid team. They're going to be a quality, reputable, respected team. And it's going to be interesting. The only time where there's been an American team that has failed was back in the 90s, I think it was, when you had the MasterCard Lola team. But that was more down to MasterCard, the sponsor, rather than Lola, the race car team, because of unnecessary deadlines, everything like that. They will have thought this through. And like I say, the approvals happened yesterday, but this went on for months. Nothing much has changed. This is basically the Andretti team still. This is going to be fascinating. I'm really looking forward to this because finally, it seems like Formula One were listening to my YouTube video, even though I only had 3 people that viewed that video. Maybe they all were from Formula One management. But yeah, turns out I was quite close, and should be proud of myself. Maybe I should be in charge of Formula One. But that's enough of me blowing my trumpet. Enjoy the rest of this season, the last 2 races. Enjoy the 2025 season because that is going to be fascinating. And until next time, take care.